Sun Tzu, the man who won before the battle. 2,500 years ago in ancient China, there lived a man who believed that the greatest victory was the one achieved without war. Kings feared him, generals studied him, empires carried his words across centuries, and long after chariots disappeared, after swords turned into rifles, after humanity split the atom, his ideas remained alive. His name was Sun Tzu. Part 1. A World Falling Apart. China, the 6th century before Christ. A land divided, a civilization collapsing under its own weight. Historians would later call this era the Spring and Autumn period, a beautiful name, but behind it was chaos. The Zhou dynasty still existed, but only in name. Real power had shattered into dozens of rival states, and every ruler understood one thing: survival depended on war. Imagine a world where a king's ambition could erase a kingdom overnight, where borders shifted with every harvest, where a farmer could wake up a subject of one lord and by sunset belong to another or to no one at all. This was not a temporary crisis. This was an age in which the old foundations of honor, loyalty, and order were crumbling into dust. But the most important change was not the wars themselves, it was the death of the old rules. Once war had been ritual, a performance of aristocrats, noble chariots, formal battles, codes of honor. It was dishonorable to attack an unprepared enemy, dishonorable to strike a grieving kingdom, dishonorable to kill the wounded. But honor could not survive. Ambition within a single generation. Everything changed. War stopped being ceremonial. It became ruthless, fast, efficient, merciless. Victory no longer belonged to the most noble. It belonged to the most adaptable. And in this new world, a thinker appeared who understood something others did not. The old way of war was dying, and a new kind of mind would replace it. His name was Sun Tzu. History would remember him as Sun Tzu. Master Sun, Part 2. The making of the strategist. Very little is known about the real Sun Tzu. Even his birthplace remains uncertain. Ancient chronicles point to the states of Qi and Wu. The truth has vanished into history. But one detail matters. Sun Tzu came from the Qi class, an educated warrior elite. Men without great wealth, men who survived through intellect. This class produced philosophers, diplomats, advisors, strategists, men whose greatest weapon was the mind. From an early age, Sun Tzu studied military theory, ancient battle manuals, the rituals of command, the traditions of noble warfare. He watched kingdoms collapse. He watched armies destroyed, and again. He saw proud traditions lead men into disaster. Then a dangerous thought appeared. What if victory mattered more than honor? What if survival belonged not to the righteous, but to the intelligent? Those questions would change military history forever. He began to see patterns that others missed. He saw that the strongest army could be undone by a single rumor, that the bravest general could be trapped by his own pride, that the largest kingdom could starve if its granaries were poorly placed. War, he realized, was not a contest of strength. It was a contest of information, timing, and psychologia. And slowly, silently, the framework of the art of war began to take shape in his mind. Part 3. The Tao of War. Sun Tzu did not study only warfare. He studied philosophy, and there he found the foundation of his thinking. Taoism, the philosophy of the way. The Taoists believed that the universe moved according to an invisible order, a natural flow, a hidden rhythm, and nothing symbolized this better than water. Water does not fight the mountain, it flows around it. Water appears soft, yet over time it breaks stone. Sun Tzu understood something revolutionary. War should work the same way. Most generals worshipped battle. Sun Tzu wanted something greater, triumph before the first sword was drawn. Years later he would write, "To fight and conquer in all your battles is not supreme excellence. Supreme excellence consists in breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting." That idea became the soul of the art of war. Part 4, the book that outlived emperors. Sun Tzu began writing, not on paper, but on bamboo slips, cold, precise. 13 chapters, the first words were not glorious. They were a warning. The art of war is of vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death. Sun Tzu did not romanticize war. He treated it like fire, useful, but catastrophic when uncontrolled. He taught that victory depends on 5 vital factors. These were not mere suggestions, they were the pillars upon which entire empires rose or fell. The moral law when ruler and people move with one heart. Heaven and earth, the seasons, the terrain, the timing of heaven, the commander, his wisdom. Sincerity, courage, and discipline. Method and discipline, organization, supply, and unbreakable structure. Neglect even one and the entire campaign collapses like a house of cards in the wind. Then came the line that would echo across history. Appear weak when you are strong, and appear strong when you are weak. All warfare is based on deception, not deception for cruelty. Deception for survival. When able to attack, appear unable. When near, appear far away. When strong, appear weak. To Sun Tzu, war was not brute force, it was perception. The enemy loses the battle first inside his own mind. And before every conflict comes calculation. The general who wins a battle makes many calculations beforehand. The general who loses makes few. Part 5, the true cost of war. Most military thinkers glorified conquest. Sun Tzu counted the cost. Weapons, food, exhaustion, gold, lives. He understood something ancient rulers often ignored. Even victory can destroy a nation. If victory is long in coming, men's weapons will grow dull. Their spirit will break. Long wars consume everything. Treasuries, families, armies, the future itself. There is no instance of a country having benefited from prolonged warfare. So Sun Tzu demanded efficiency, speed, precision. In war, let your great object be victory, not lengthy campaigns. And perhaps most importantly, he warned rulers against ego. No ruler should put troops into the field merely to gratify his own spite, because once a kingdom burns, it may never rise again. Part 6. The highest form of victory. The third chapter of The Art of War became legendary, because here Sun Tzu revealed his greatest principle: the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Not through chaos, not through slaughter, but through intelligence. Break alliances, destroy morale, confuse plans, cut supply lines, force surrender before battle begins. To Sun Tzu. Bloodshed was failure. The perfect victory left the enemy defeated before swords were drawn. Then came perhaps the most famous words ever written on strategy. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. But if you know neither, you will succumb in every battle. Part 7, the test of the concubines. According to ancient legend, King Helu of Wu summoned Sun Tzu to court. The king had read his treatise, but he wanted proof. The king asked a mocking question: could Sun Tzu train even palace concubines into soldiers? Sun Tzu answered simply yes. 180 women were assembled. They were handed weapons. Commands were explained: left, right, turn, advance. The drums sounded. The women laughed. No one obeyed. Sun Tzu remained calm. If commands are unclear, The fault lies with the general. He repeated the instructions, slowly, precisely. The drums sounded again. Again, laughter, chaos. Then the atmosphere changed. Sun Tzu's voice became cold. If commands are clear and soldiers still disobey, the fault lies with the officers. He ordered the execution of the two commanders. The king's favorite concubines. The king panicked. He begged Sun Tzu to stop, but Sun Tzu answered with words that became immortal. Having received the sovereign's commission, there are commands of the sovereign which the general cannot obey. The execution was carried out. New commanders were chosen. The drums sounded a third time. This time, perfect silence, perfect discipline. The women moved, like trained soldiers. King Heilu understood. This man was dangerous and invaluable. Sun Tzu became commander of Wu. Part 8. The Battle of Boju. Then came the real test, the state of Chu, a military giant, hundreds of thousands of soldiers. Wu could field only a fraction of that number. Most commanders would never attack. Sun Tzu did. In 506 BC, Wu invaded Chu, but Sun Tzu did not fight, like other generals. He avoided direct confrontation. He struck supply lines, destroyed communications, forced confusion. His army moved like mist, invisible, unpredictable. Attack where the enemy is unprepared. Appear where you are not expected. The massive Chu army struggled to react. Orders arrived too late. Reports contradicted one another. Command collapsed into chaos. Then Sun Tzu chose the battlefield, Boju. His troops were rested. Chu's army was exhausted. Whoever arrives first will be fresh for battle. Whoever arrives late will come exhausted. When the attack began, it was devastating. The Chu formations collapsed. Panic spread. Retreat became rout. Wu captured the enemy capital, and ancient China understood something terrifying. A smaller force, guided by superior strategy, could destroy a giant. Part 9. Death Ground. But Sun Tzu's brilliance went far beyond mobility. He understood that the very ground beneath a soldier's feet was a weapon, because it shapes the human heart. He spoke of 9 types of ground, but one ruled above all others: death ground. Push men deep into hostile territory, cut off every road of escape, and something transforms inside them. No more thoughts of home, no more dreams of retreat, only the enemy and survival. Place the army on death ground, and they will fight to the last, for in death ground they must survive or perish. A trapped soldier fights harder than a free one. A man with no way back finds a way forward. This was not cruelty, it was a master's profound understanding of the human heart. Part 10. The Prize of Ignorance. And how did Sun Tzu always know where the enemy would be? How did he slip through enemy lands and never fall into traps? He called it foreknowledge. Not magic, not prophecy, not luck. Knowledge bought, stolen, risked for. The reason an enlightened ruler and a wise general. Conquer the enemy is foreknowledge, and this knowledge cannot be obtained from spirits, nor from gods, nor by clever thinking alone. It must be obtained from men who know the enemy's situation, men who live in shadow, men who wear the enemy's uniform, men who hear the secret orders and carry them back through the night spies. Think of them alone behind enemy lines, carrying a truth that could save thousands. Every whispered secret, every stolen map, every coded message passed in darkness was a thread in the web of victory. Spies are the most important element in war, because upon them depends an army's ability to move. Sun Tzu classified 5 kinds of spies: local spies, internal spies, double agents, expendable spies, living spies, and he demanded something unprecedented from a general towards his spies. Not distance, not suspicion, but closeness. The general who is not sage, wise, humane, and just cannot use spies, because a spy must trust you with his life, and you must trust him with victory. Without spies, he cannot know his enemy, and without knowing his enemy, he is but a blind man, walking towards a cliff. For Sun Tzu, information was not a tool of war, it was the very soul of victory. Before a single arrow is fired, the battle is often already decided in silence, by shadows. Part 11, The Attack by Fire. Among the 13 chapters, one burned brighter than the rest, the 12th, The Attack by Fire. Sun Tzu did not speak of fire as a mere weapon. He spoke of it as a force of nature unleashed with calculation or turned against its maker. There are 5 ways of attacking with fire. The first is to burn soldiers in their camp. The second to burn stores. The third to burn baggage trains. The fourth to burn arsenals and magazines. The fifth to hurl dropping fire amongst the enemy. But then came the warning. Fire must be used with understanding. If the enemy is in confusion, use fire. If he is calm, do not. If the wind rises, use fire. If the wind shifts, wait. Sun Tzu knew that fire was a double-edged sword. It could destroy the enemy, or if unleashed at the wrong moment, it could consume the one who lit the flame. In these passages there was a deeper truth. Not all power is meant to be used. Some of the most devastating weapons must be held back until the exact moment when their use decides everything. The wise general does not play with fire. He becomes its master. Part 12. The Philosophy of Sun Tzu. What made Sun Tzu different? Before him, many believed war was decided by fate or by the will of heaven. Sun Tzu disagreed. War could be understood, calculated, controlled. He separated tactics from strategy. Tactics win battles. Strategy wins before the battle begins. He taught leaders to become impossible to defeat. The good fighters of old first put themselves beyond the possibility of defeat. Victory begins with preparation, discipline, patience, self-control. To secure ourselves against defeat lies in our own hands. And then wait for the enemy to make the mistake. Sun Tzu also understood flexibility. There are not more than 5 musical notes, yet the combinations of these give rise to more melodies than can ever be heard. There are not more than 5 primary colors, yet in combination they produce more hues than can ever be seen. In battle there are only 2 methods of attack, the direct and the indirect, yet their combinations are limitless. Victory comes not from learning one winning move, but from mastering the infinite dance between the obvious and the unexpected. Adaptation, not stubbornness. That was true strength. And finally, Sun Tzu understood people. Armies are not machines. They are human beings. Fear spreads. Pride blinds. Exhaustion destroys judgment. A leader who cannot control himself cannot control an army. He will win who knows when to fight and when not to fight. Part 13. The Disappearance. Sun Tzu's triumph did not last forever. King Heilu died. A new ruler took power, and slowly the state of Wu declined. Then Sun Tzu vanished from history. Some believed he died in political intrigue. Others claimed he abandoned the court entirely, retreating into the mountains, living in silence. No one knows the truth, and perhaps that is fitting. A man who saw war as flowing water left history the same way, quietly, without trace. Part 14. The Immortality and Modern Echoes. Sun Tzu left behind no empire, no palace, no monument, only 13 chapters, yet those chapters survived dynasties, revolutions, world wars, the modern age. Samurai studied them, generals studied them, businessmen studied them, politicians studied them. In the turmoil of the 20th century, His words echoed from the trenches of the Western Front to the strategy rooms of the Cold War. During the Second World War, Allied and Axis commanders alike kept his treatise within reach. In Vietnam, insurgent forces applied his principles of concealment and surprise against the world's greatest military machine and prevailed. But the art of war was never only about battle. Its wisdom bled into commerce, where executives learned to conquer markets, not by destroying competitors, but by outthinking them. Technology founders studied his chapters on timing and terrain to launch products when the ground was ripe. Athletes absorbed his lessons on discipline and self-mastery to defeat opponents before the contest even started. Because the principles do not change, deception is still at the heart of negotiation. Timing is still the pulse of success. Knowing the enemy and knowing yourself remains the difference between victory and ruin. Every time someone chooses strategy over raw impulse, Sun Tzu lives. Every time a leader protects their people instead of feeding them to pride, Sun Tzu lives. Every time a person avoids a useless conflict and waits for the right moment, Sun Tzu lives. The unbroken thread. And so across 2.5 millennia, an invisible thread stretches from the bamboo slips of ancient China to the digital screens of the modern age. The same questions that haunted Sun Tzu now haunt us. How do we defend what we love without destroying it? How do we win without becoming what we fight against? How do we master ourselves before we try to master the world? His answers were never about conquest. They were about wisdom, and wisdom does not age in a world that still rushes blindly into war. Sun Tzu still whispers, "The greatest victory is won before the battle ever begins." The master is gone, but his way remains.